Hello, children. Good wishes and greetings from Nirmala ma'am. Let's continue with the part 3 of your history chapter, the Vedic period. In the later Vedic age, human life was considered to have a duration of 100 years, divided into 4 equal periods of 25 years each. Each such period was called an ashram or stage of life. Now let's understand the 4 ashrams. Brahmacharya. This was the first stage or ashram from birth to 25 years of age until he is 25 years of age. During this period, a person was to lead the life of a brahmachari and devote himself completely to the attainments of education, spiritual knowledge, and his physical and mental well-being. Grihastha. This was the second stage of life from 25 years to 50 years. In this stage, a person after the completion of his education was expected to become a grihastha. Grihastha means householder. Therefore, the individual got married, had a family, gave birth to children, and observed family customs and rites. Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha is the third stage which lasted from 50 years to 75 years. The individual had to break ties with family life and enter Vanaprastha. In this stage, the individual was expected to meditate on sacred texts and to devote himself to social welfare. The last stage of life is sannyasa. From 75 years of age till the death of the person, he has to renounce all the worldly or material comforts and pleasures and live in a forest like a sannyasi. It is believed that this renunciation would ultimately lead to moksha or salvation. Education. We have come to know of the education system and its achievements during the later Vedic age from the Upanishads. The method of education at that time was the Gurukul system. According to this system, the student lived in the house of Guru till the completion of his education. Now, since the Guru was responsible for all-round development of the student, he trained his students to mental and physical training. Daily life of the student began by begging alms, collecting wood, leaves, etc., and performing household work. The student had to strictly observe the discipline. The Gurukul system aimed at simple living and high thinking. Of course, there were no fees. Now, other outstanding feature of the education system of the later Vedic age also included equal position of the famous women teachers. The subjects of study included Vedic literature, grammar, astronomy, military, science, mathematics, spiritual knowledge, fine arts, etc. Now let's understand political organization of the early Vedic period. Early Vedic society was composed of tribes. Tribes means people, Jana. The word Jana was used to indicate people and the tribes. Now, in the tribes, the family was the basic social unit with the head of the house called as Grihapati or Dampati. So, Grihapati or Dampati was the central figure of the family. Now, a number of families formed the Grama. Grama means the village, with the Gramani as a village headman, as an authority. Villages grouped together to form the Visha, and Visha was ruled by Vishpati. Finally, several Vishas combined to form a Jana, and the leader of the Jana was known as Jayeshta. But the government, the state was governed by the Rajan, that is, Jana were ruled by the king. Now the king was also known as Samrat, the supreme ruler. The king ruled with the consent of the people. There were three popular councils, Sabha, Samiti and Vidhata. The women were allowed to attend only two, that is Sabha and Vidhata. The Sabha and Samiti were the principal organs of the government. The Sabha means meeting of the people in the hall. Sabha was essentially a gathering of the Brahmins or the priestly class and wealthy class for administrative business. The Samiti, on the other hand, was an assembly of the common people as well as the Brahmins and the rich. So the Samiti was a larger gathering of all the people for the conduct of the business, and it was presided over by the king. The duty of the king was to protect the tribe, in which he was assisted by a Purohit and Senani. Senani means the chief of the army. The king did not possess a standing army. Standing army means permanent army. In the later Vedic period, kingship became hereditary. At the same time, the role of the people in the administration diminished, started going down. As during this period, the popular assemblies of the early Vedic times lost their importance. The Sabha and Samiti, the two popular assemblies of the early Vedic, lost their importance. Instead, there was a general council known as Parishad. This council was composed of a body of Brahmins who advised the king on all the administrative matters. The Brahmanas grew in power and prestige during this period. The king was highly dependent on the Purohitas or the Brahmana priest for their daily functions of the state and often worked on their advice. The Purohitas also advised the king not only on the normal aspects but also on the military and political aspects. During this period, the Vidhata completely disappeared. Who were this Vidhata? The people who performed functions on religious, social or economic aspects completely disappeared because now the power is in the hands of the king. The Sabha and Samiti continued, but the power was decreased here. And now women were no longer permitted to sit in the Sabha. It was now dominated by nobles and the Brahmins. The king performed a number of rituals and sacrifices to consolidate his hold over the throne, to show that he is the supreme power. Now, what are the rituals? First one is Rajasuya sacrifice. What is Rajasuya sacrifice? It is a yagna performed by the kings of India who consider themselves very powerful to be an emperor. The king also performed Ashwamedha rituals. Ashwamedha rituals means a horse sacrifice. Horse sacrifice ritual. He also performed Vajpaya. Vajpaya is chariot race, in which the royal chariot was made to win the race. The king did not possess any standing army, means no permanent army. The tribal units used to assemble when there is a war. They used to assemble during the time of the war. So there was no standing army at that time for the kings. Now let's understand the economy of the early Vedic period. The early Vedic period had a pastoral economy and cattle was the most important resource. Agriculture was an essential part of the Rig Vedic people who lived in the villages. In the Rig Veda, there is a mention of the cultivated field, that is Kshetra. We have seen the plough and the plowshare that they have used for the purpose of agriculture. The Rigvedic Aryans traded in cloth and leather among other items. Land was not an item or a unit of trade at that time. Of course, during that period, none of the occupation was considered low in status. Booty captured after war was also a major source of wealth. Booty means valuable things that is stolen during the war or taken from the war. Okay, so that is called as booty capture. The economic exchanges were conducted by giving gifts to the kings, called Bali. Bali means revenue or taxes. And to the priest, they were giving Dan. Dan means charity. And of course, carpentry, leather work, pottery work, they were some of the occupations during this early Vedic period. In the later Vedic period, the transition of the Vedic society from a semi-nomadic life to a settled life led to an increase in trade. The expansion of the Aryan settlements and agricultural tools of iron led to the expansion of agriculture too. Now, apart from rice, barley, pulses, millets, we could see new crops like sugarcane, wheat, rice, mustard also began to be cultivated during this period. There were a specialization of the industries and occupations like jewelry work, rope making, glass industries, etc. During this period, all metals such as gold, silver, copper, tin, lead, bronze, all were used during this period. In the early Vedic period, the Aryans worshipped the various aspects and forces of nature. They worshipped Prithvi, Indra, Vayu, Agni, Usha, Surya and Varuna. The most important among these gods was Indra, the rain god. He was known as Purandhara or the breaker of forts. About 250 hymns in the Rig Veda are devoted to him. Agni was the second important god and was regarded as an intermediary between God and all the human beings. Varuna was the third important one, who was the gods of water, cloud, oceans, and rivers. Thus, all the gods of the Rig Vedic age represented various forces of nature. At the same time, they believed in the existence of one supreme power as the creator of the universe. In the later Vedic period, the two outstanding Rig Vedic gods, Indra and Agni, lost their former importance, and Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva gained prominence. Simple nature worship lost appeal, and rituals and sacrifices became more important. In addition, some symbolic objects began to be worshipped. Some important female deities during the later Vedic age were Usha, the goddesses of dawn, Aditi, the mother of gods, Prithvi, the earth goddesses, Aryani, the forest goddesses, Lakshmi, the goddesses of wealth, and Saraswati, the goddesses of knowledge. Of course, prayers continued. Prayers were to be recited, but they ceased to be dominant mode of worship. Sacrifices became more important. Simple practices, simple rituals became more complicated. The priests who conducted the sacrifices were rewarded generously through donations and dakshinas. The concept of rebirth, karma, dharma, and moksha gained roots during this period.